Sketch comedy is a unique format for me because it will give me a variety of ways to use my talents to share experiences with the audience. With this particular type of show, we sing, we dance, we do comedic moments interspersed with some drama, and it gives a whole lot of color and shading to what we share with the audience. And we just are able to shape the whole experience with different elements of life to bring it to fruition for everybody in the audience to share. And I think that's very important for people to experience because you don't necessarily get that in day-to-day life.
I think sketch comedy is more unique. It's because it never has to be close to the same. I mean, the words, everything's always changing to go with the modern times, so it's never quite going to go the same way.
I think sketch comedy is unique for theater specifically because you get a connection with the audience you don't necessarily get otherwise. In sketch comedy, you can, pause for laughs. You can kind of ad-lib more, and it's more encouraged to just go with your gut and take risks and do something weird and crazy. And a lot of the times it pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. But, that's how you learn, and I think there's a learning curve to it, and it's a little different than just a straight-up like play or musical.
Sketch comedy, I love sketch comedy because it plays off of improv. It's this idea of coming up with things on the fly, kind of trusting your gut. I feel like, especially with the world today, a lot of our communication is pre-planned, so being able to shred all that off and just say what's on your mind is really fun. And, with Funny Bonz, the idea is that it's sung about as well, so that extra step in that improv and singing aspects of it all.
Well, sketch comedy in comparison to improv is also a love of mine. I did it at Disney for many, many years. But improv, you're basically flying from the seat of your pants. You're making up stuff off the top of your head, usually taking suggestions from the audience, which we could do in sketch comedy. But with Funny Bonz, it's more of a set format as far as the sketch comedy is rehearsed. And then we can go off from there if we need to, but it is a show that is rehearsed and is planned as far as the comedy goes.
I think sketch comedy is an interesting format because it's like seeing into a bunch of different worlds rather than seeing the whole picture, which I think is quite fun because it keeps you on your toes. It's like when you're scrolling and you're looking at Reels or TikToks or whatever it is, each piece is kind of its own moment. And I think sketch comedy is a lot like that, where you kind of open the door to a room, see what's in there, oh, it's funny, and then we close and we can move on to another room. I think that just gives a whole new meaning to how far you can go with something because you can always change it. It can always be interesting. It can always be new. So that format to me is just lively. It just keeps you on your toes. I love that part of it.
Sketch comedy is such a unique format to me, in my opinion, because it's these really fun, quirky characters, and they're just kind of being themselves on stage. Like, they're not like a real person that you're just kind of like, oh, hi, how's it going today? You're this like heightened, more exaggerated like, hi, how's it going today? You make it big because the characters are big. So in sketch comedy, like all theater, you spend time on the characters, but I think in sketch comedy you spend so much more time figuring out why this character is so funny to you. What do you think is going to make other people laugh about this character? And you see a lot of these people, plus like my fellow cast members, who just like dive into it and like really do the work, and they come out with like these really just amazing characters that they can just say one thing and it's like, I need more of that character. I need like a sitcom of just that character. And I think with plays and musicals, you can fall in love with those characters, but with sketch comedy, they make you laugh. And when someone makes you laugh, when you think something is funny, you're going to keep wanting more of that thing. Like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that's my favorite sitcom. I always want more, even though it's ended. I find something new in an episode, and they're so funny. They're just so funny, and that's the most important. Not really the most important thing, but one of the most important things is that they're not necessarily like funny, but they make you laugh.
Sketch comedy is a unique format in that it's not, like I've mentioned, your regular musical comedy. It's not improvisational comedy because typically sketch comedy is scripted, but it is. In a musical comedy or in a play that's a comedy, there's a story. There are characters going on. There's a storyline that goes through the entire production. Improv is where you're kind of doing things on the fly. You're coming up with things that aren't scripted and developing a story in front of a live audience or developing a skit or whatever it is. And in sketch comedy, it's kind of it's a little more. It touches on things that are, at least in this particular sketch comedy review, it touches on things that are happening in the here and now, but it is a very tongue-in-cheek look at it. You're a character, but you're not playing a character necessarily through a 2-hour play. It's almost more like a caricature of whatever the topic of that individual skit or musical song is. So and you are making that connection with the audiences as opposed to when you're in a play or a musical. You're again just telling this story, this plot. But the sketch comedy is a lot more tongue-in-cheek, if you will. This is John Peterson, the Executive Artistic Director of P3 Theater Company, and I have to say, you need to get yourself to a performance of Funny Bonz, the Humerus Solution, because if you don't, shame, shame, shame on you. You will not know what you missed, and you don't want to go through life having missed this.